It's John from Heroes and Legends. Welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This week we're going to look at the impact of the Modern Masters Grand Prix on the format. And you'll see some pretty startling things, maybe some things that were hard to predict as well in the modern format. And as always, we'll also take a look at standards. So let's go ahead and jump in. Well, looking at the top 5 standard cards that have lost value this week. And coming in at number 5 is Dragonlord Silmagar. And he just lost a little bit of value, 81 cents, but you'll see for the most part standard is pretty stable this week. The drops and the increases are well within $1, so nothing too startling here. He's still worth $10.25, and this is just normal fluctuation I think you'll see in the metagame as decks come and go that are going to play him. Next is Stormbreath Dragon, and not a big loss here, 84 cents, but it is down now to $12. This card has continued to drop. Not really surprising. It's a Theros card, and we know that Standard's going to rotate the Theros block out this fall, so people are starting to move on to their newer decks and sell off some of the older cards. If that's your plan and you want to get into a new Standard deck, this is probably the best time to sell some of these Theros cards, maybe with one exception that we'll see in a few moments. Next is Burmaz, King of Oreskos, and it's sort of the same thing. He's down to $14.84. He has dropped $1.01 over the course of the week. He's probably going to continue to drop. Now he'll probably stabilize somewhere between $5 and $10. He's still a card that's going to see play sometimes in Modern. You're going to see him in Commander decks, things like that. So he's not going to completely fall off the map, but again, he's going to lose a lot of his value, I think, due to the fact that he'll be leaving Standard. Number 2 this week is Narset Transcendent. Narset has been on here every week that we've looked at Standard. She's down, but she's down to $15.53, lost another $1.20 this week, which is about where we thought she would land. She probably will still lose a little more value, getting her down to maybe a $12 card or so. Again, she just had so much hype around her when the set was spoiled that people were charging $50 for pre-release versions of this card, and it just doesn't have the chops to stand up to that kind of price. I mean, she does see some Standard play, don't get me wrong. She's in a few decks out there, but the Standard impact isn't that big, and unfortunately, I don't see a huge impact where she could have been good in maybe areas like Legacy, just because she's overcosted. You're going to have to choose between playing Jace the Mind Sculptor or Narset, and obviously you're going to play Jace the Mind Sculptor. And our number 1 card that's lost value this week in Standard is Dragonlord Ojutai, and he's down to $25.46. He lost $1.78 this week. He just got super inflated after the Pro Tour. Every deck in the Pro Tour was playing this card, and everybody scrambled to get their play sets. Drove the price up to close to $40, and now that we're a couple months removed from the Pro Tour, it's just starting to stabilize again now. It's a great card. It's still seeing tons of Standard play, but more packs are getting opened, and people that needed their play sets have gotten their play sets, so that's why we've seen this drop. It's still going to hold value. It's going to continue to hold value as long as it's used in Standard, which I think will be pretty much as long as it's legal. So if it does drop some more, I don't see it going down much farther below $20. So if you haven't purchased your Ojutais yet, you may want to wait a couple weeks, see what happens to the market. Maybe this will stabilize around $20. You may save a few dollars. Now let's look at our top 5 Standard cards that have gained value this week. And coming in at number 5 is Wooded Foothills. And you'll see there is a trend here of fetch lands, and Wooded Foothills in particular is now up to $11.95, and it's on an increase of 29 cents. So this is just the creep has begun for these fetch lands. They came out with cons. A lot of these were opened, thrown out into the market, but people are always going to want and need these lands. They're going to need them not just for Standard, but for Modern. They're going to need them for their casual decks. They're going to need them for Commander. They're going to need them for Legacy. These are great investments. This is the time to buy. If you haven't bought your play sets of fetch lands yet, at least the allied colored versions, this is the time to do so. So don't wait on this. These are just going to keep creeping up pretty much forever now. Number 4 is Eidolon of the Great Revel, and it saw a 35-cent increase, bringing it up to $9.94 this week. And sure, it gets played in some of your standard red decks. Now it is a Theros card, so it's not going to be in rotation very long. However, it's got some legs in Modern, and that's the reason why it's gone up a little bit. I don't see this card fluctuating greatly anytime soon. Modern players will continue to pick it up. However, standard players are going to try to unload it, so it's probably going to just stick around the $10 price point. This is just a card that's probably going to hold. Number 3 this week is Thoughtseize, and it went up 43 cents, bringing it to $22.85. And this is the one exception I alluded to earlier when it comes to looking at the Theros block. This card is not going to lose value when the block rotates out, even though it's going to leave standard, and some standard players will try to unload it. There's many, many modern legacy players that are going to be more than happy to pick up more copies of this card. It's a great card in the Eternal formats. It's going to continue to be a staple, so it might not rise through the roof as standard players start to unload it. It'll probably stay stable around $20, $25. However, give it a few months after the card's out of circulation, and it's going to just start creeping up again and creeping up again. So hang on to these if you have them. Number 2 is Polluted Delta, and this is the biggest mover of the fetch lands this week. It's up to $15.49, an increase of 50 cents, and traditionally this one, along with Flooded Strand, have been the two strongest fetch lands in the allied colors. Again, usually blue dictates that when it comes to dual lands. Again, if you haven't got your playsets, get them now. It's not going to get any cheaper. And our number 1 mover in standard is Kolaghan's Command. And this card just continues to slowly kind of trend up. It's up to $5.92, and that's an increase of 88 cents over the past 7 days. And it has fluctuated a little bit, kind of gone up and down. But all these commands are awesome. Pick them up while you can. They're just going to go up in price as the standard format evolves and the metagame evolves. I think any deck that's going to play the corresponding colors is going to potentially want some of these commands as they go forward. So pick them up, have your play sets. There's also implications for these in Modern as well. Speaking of Modern, let's look at our top 5 cards in Modern that have lost value this week. So there's going to be some interesting things here. Just a quick recap. We saw the 4 GPs occur, and a lot of product got dumped into the community. So there's a ton of new Modern Masters cards out there. However, you're going to see in a few moments, this was counteracted by a big increase in excitement over Modern. And just like we saw in the original Modern Masters, more product got out there, but a lot more players started to turn their attention to Modern. So let's look at the losses first. At number 5 is Leyline of Sanctity, and it took a $1.63 hit, but it's still at $21.92. Specifically, we're looking at the Magic 2011 version of this card. Although the Modern Masters 2015 card is relatively comparable, it's just a little less right now. But this is going to be a card that's a huge staple, especially in sideboards for Modern. So this might be a time to start thinking about picking these up. Maybe wait another week or two just to see how the market works and just see how reallocated boxes kind of get out into the community. But I don't think this card is going to go much lower than it is right now. Number 4 is Fulminator Mage, and he lost $1.73 this week, bringing him down to $29.75, and we're looking specifically at the Shadowmoor version here, which took the biggest loss. The Modern Masters versions of some of these cards are actually just increasing to slowly kind of get closer to what the original versions are. But in this case, this is a really fine card. It's going to continue to see Modern play. I think it's going to drop a little more because it's a little more niche than maybe some other Modern cards, but I expect this to stabilize somewhere between the $20 and $25 range. You're not going to see much more of a drop, I don't think, for Fulminator Mage. But so far, so good. Keep an eye on it if you haven't picked these up yet. Maybe within a couple weeks, if you start to see these baseline or start to increase, go ahead and make your move. Next is Wiltleaf Liege, and this is another Shadowmoor card. Just the Shadowmoor Eventide cards in general didn't see as much play at the time, at least relatively speaking. It was a little bit of a downswing in the time of Magic the Gathering, so not as many of these have been open. So sometimes you have seen some inflated prices from cards from Shadowmoor and Eventide. This is a card that kind of fits into that mold, but now that Modern Masters 2015 has printed more copies, it's starting to bring the price down to earth. So the Modern Masters 2015 version lost $2.17 this week, bringing it down to $12.28, and the Shadowmoor version lost $1.91, bringing it down to $22.03 on average this week. So it's still pretty pricey, don't get me wrong, especially for what it is. It's a little bit of a niche role in Modern, but it also sees play in Commander, and it's an awesome casual card, great for elf decks and any sort of white weenie or green and white creature decks. So it's a very versatile casual card. So casual cards can drive market price quite a bit. Don't expect this to go down too much further. But if you're looking for play sets of these, the Modern Masters 2015 version is not a bad deal right now. If you can get these for $10, $12, I'd probably go ahead and pull the trigger on it, even though they may decrease a little bit more over the next few weeks. Next is Daybreak Coronet, and of course this is another card that desperately needed a reprint. It was very highly inflated. The only version of it really was the Future Sight version, but now that we have another option, it's starting to decline, and we're looking specifically here at the Modern Masters 2015 version, and it's down to $12.79, which is a drop of $2.17, and that just comes from the fact that the people that are using this card are getting their hands on it. And not to say that it won't drop any more. I do see this card dropping down to maybe the $8 range potentially, just because it's a little more niche. But we're getting to the point, I think, if you want to pick up some of these for your hexproof decks, or maybe even just a copy for your commander deck, you're probably getting close to the time you want to do so. And our number one card that lost value this week was Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. And it shouldn't be too surprising. Kozilek's a card that you don't want to necessarily ever run four of in your deck. So players that wanted copies of this are getting their one or maybe two copies that they wanted, and they're happy with that. So you're going to start to see a decrease. The Modern Masters 2015 version lost $2.67, bringing it down to $30, and the Rise of the Eldrazi version lost $1.73, bringing it down to $43.55. Quite honestly, again, like most of these cards, you might see a little more of a decrease over the next few weeks, but I don't think it's going to be much more for a card like this. At best, maybe the Modern Masters version gets down to maybe $25 if you're really lucky, but I don't expect this to bottom out or anything like that. It is still a mythic rare reprint. Having said that, let's look at the top 5 Modern cards that have gained value this week. And as you can expect, a lot of this revolves around a new interest in Modern. A lot of players that maybe haven't played Modern before are buying Modern Masters or playing some limited Modern Masters and are getting into the format. And you're going to see some crazy swingy things, especially from cards that were not reprinted. And let's get started with one that fits that description at number 5, Damnation. Damnation's up to $53.09. It increased another $2.31 over the course of the last 7 days. If you don't have them and you want them, get them now. This is only going to get worse. This card is going to keep creeping up with really no potential reprint in sight other than the Judge's promo that recently happened, which is very limited, of course, and can be very pricey to get your hands on. So get this card. This is the time to pick it up. I can only speculate maybe in Modern Masters 3 we'll get a chance to see this reprinted, but that's going to be, at this point, at least 2 years down the road. So who knows, this card could be a $100 card by then. It's time to get it. Number 4 is Tarmogoyf, and Tarmogoyf is the card you just can't keep down. It is kind of the crown jewel of Modern Masters, if you will. It's the Black Lotus of Modern Masters, and some players just want it because that's what it is. And it's seeing less play recently in Modern, but it still sees play, and it still sees play in Legacy, and it still shows up in casual decks and everywhere, basically. So looking at this price, this is specifically the Modern Masters 2015 version, up to $162.44, which is an increase of $3.52. Seems like the more Tarmogoyfs that get open, the more valuable it is. And it did see, in general, a drop when Modern Masters was announced and when it was being released. But I think players are starting to kind of wrap their head around the fact that there's still not going to be enough out there for everybody that wants them, and the price is starting to swing up relatively drastically already. So unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I don't see this getting much better. You know, maybe a little bit of up and down stabilization, but at this point, if you don't have your Tarmogoyfs, 162 might be the best you're going to do. Coming in at number 3 is Snapcaster Mage, and for the last couple months, people have been expecting this to blow up, and boy, has it ever blown up. It's now up to $64.25, an increase of $4.18. I remember not that long ago just seeing these cards available for like 20 bucks, and everybody knew it was going to blow up. Everybody knew this is just too good of a card to keep down. It's a huge staple in Modern and Legacy. It just keeps showing up everywhere. I didn't understand why the value was as low as it was, quite honestly, but now it's getting to the point where, yeah, this is what I kind of expected it to do, and these prices aren't going to get better either. You know, I hate to say it, but I'm 99.9% sure this thing will be reprinted in Modern Masters 2015. Again, that's going to be 2 years down the road. Again, it's going to be a mythic, I'm sure, at that point, and you're going to compare it to cards like Dark Confidant, which actually this sees a lot more play than Dark Confidant. Tarmogoyf, this sees more play than Tarmogoyf, I think. So really, if you haven't picked up this card yet and you're planning on playing it over the course of the next couple of years, pick it up now. It's not going to get any better than the $64 that we're seeing right now. It's only going to get worse. You got to look at it this way. 2 years down the road, this could be a $120 card, maybe even more. When it does get re-released as a mythic, maybe it will take a little bit of a dip and it will just go down to, if you're lucky, 80, 100. So this is the time to buy it. Number 2 is Omniscience, and here's one that kind of, I think, floated under people's radar. It's up to $33.37. It saw an $8.06 increase this week. And again, it's just another card that hasn't seen a reprint, probably isn't going to see one anytime soon. But this is also the type of card that you could see maybe reprinted in a Commander product or something like that. It is a combo enabler. That makes it a little sticky, so there's a chance it might not be reprinted. But that's also what's driving it. It's a combo enabler. It shows up in a lot of different decks and some different formats. So this is one I think a lot of people missed, and it was a mythic rare. It was only printed once, and if it doesn't get reprinted, this is going to continue to go up. And our number 1 biggest mover in Modern this week is Blood Moon. And last week, this was our number 1, and I had said, hey, this has not been reprinted in Modern Masters 2015. This isn't going to get any better. Buy your Blood Moons now. But I didn't expect this kind of increase. These cards have just blown up this week. And here's a perfect example of a card that was not reprinted, but its value has been directly impacted by the fact that a lot of players just got interested in Modern. And they go out there and people say, hey, I want to get into Modern. What staples do I need? Blood Moon is one of them, whether it's sideboard or some people do main deck this card even in some decks. Okay, give me 4 of those. So this is what's happening, and this is what's going to happen to the market. 9th edition got the biggest increase this week. That particular version of the card went up $22.90, bringing it to $64.01. The Modern Masters version went up $13.06, bringing it up to $48.99. And not pictured here is the 8th edition version, which kind of stabilized a little bit and didn't see the wild fluctuations, but it is also about $54, I think is what it came in at. So if you don't have Blood Moons, I hate to say this, but I think you're going to have to bite the bullet and pay about 50 bucks if you're lucky at this point, each for one of these cards to get into Modern. That's crazy to me that this card has done that. Now, I will say this. This is one that you might not want to jump on right now. It just saw such a drastic increase that there may be some backlash and the prices may start to come down a little bit. So watch this one over the next couple weeks. Hopefully this is an anomaly and we'll start to see these prices trickle back down to maybe the $40, $50 range, but keep a close eye because there's also a chance that at some point these can continue to spike upward. So having said that, that is the Market Watch for this week. As always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. If you're still looking for quality Magic the Gathering videos, click on one of these annotations. And if you hadn't had a chance yet to subscribe, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the breaking MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, crazy product openings, or gameplay videos on Heroes and Legends MTG. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.